Welcome! This video contains an introduction, an interview so you can gain deeper understanding of the subject from spirit level, and a group frequency calibration so you can start to clear the frequency distortion patterns around this topic. Enjoy! Hi everyone, my name is Karen Cheong, and I'm here with my co-host Dennis Kelly. Today we're discussing the power of the mastermind and how to get in on it. So whether you're aware of it or not, who you choose to mastermind with very much influences the amount of growth you can experience, your success, and even the limitations that you face. So today, we're going to be discussing what the mastermind is, how it works, why it's so powerful, and how you can leverage it to accelerate your own growth. So let's get started. Dennis, what's your first question for me?
Well, Karen, I think probably the best place to start is, what is it? Mastermind. What exactly are you talking about?
Yeah, so the mastermind is really when two or more individuals come together. And usually when they come together for a common intention. Sometimes the mastermind is formed non-voluntarily. So when you hear of like a crowd taking off and they start to stampede, or because there's something wrong, like you hear of soccer stadiums, right, where like a riot breaks out or people stampede for the door or whatever. That actually is a form of mastermind, which is a bunch of people coming together, not necessarily for a higher purpose, but with a common intention of getting out or whatever. You can have the opposite of that by having people, for example, who meditate with the intention of connecting to pure source even more. That's the opposite, very opposite extreme of that. And when they come together, because they come together as this group with this intention of connecting to pure source even more and to transcend certain distortions, they gather momentum, just like a crowd does, with a negative intention, to accelerate themselves. So it's very different purposes, but that's what the mastermind is. It forms, really what it does is it forms like a separate sort of being or entity or whatever, that it is acting as a representative for the group, so to speak.
So if I come to the group and let's say there's 50 people.
Yeah.
So I bring my unique essence to the table.
Yep.
And what you're saying though is that as we all come to this point, is there's kind of a commonality as far as frequency and energy?
Yes. What I'm saying is, I'm going to distinguish. So when I talk about it in the context of my GFCs, or my group frequency calibrations, what happens is the mastermind will start to what I call gel. So because the purpose is so high, which is to connect to pure source. This is the highest purpose possible. What happens is not only you as your own unique essence, but your higher selves come to the table. So all of you, your highest selves come to the table, which is great. And then they form to create an essence, okay, which is the combination of everyone's best in order to accelerate.
So is one of the requirements to have a common purpose in mind? Or is if I just show up, I become part of the group?
If you show up, you become part of the group. Okay. And that's why when you mastermind, it's not always conscious. So family units are often masterminds, even though they're not really aware of it, right? So they're masterminding because they're together and they're actually forming this sort of other essence that is the collective, right? So when people say they go into patterns and stuff when they come back to their family unit, it's because this group thing is working on above it. Similarly, if you take something that's not neutral, but like negative, like a gang, for example, right? So you think, how can these people who necessarily create this sort of amount of negative sort of whirlwind around them, for example, individually they might not do that level of violence or whatever, but when they come together, that's what happens. Does that make sense? And that's a negative form of that.
So I'm curious, and is it possible that different masterminds can have different levels of frequency?
Absolutely.
So the gang, you're saying a lower frequency.
Yeah, very much so.
And so if a group of evolved individuals come together, a higher frequency.
Or even people who just aspire to awakening.
Okay.
Right? So their intention is, like I said, to connect to pure source. So it really doesn't matter. You're just joining, right? So you're showing up. wherever you are in your state. And your intention is to, in this particular case, to connect to pure source even more. So it doesn't matter where you are on your like where you are, how many distortion patterns, whatever, because you're coming with this intention. That is sufficient. It doesn't matter where you are in terms of your awakening process, or even if you want to awaken, it's actually irrelevant. But just by joining, that in itself will allow you to tap into that energetic, that I will call an essence of the group.
So everybody gets an opportunity to have the benefit of the group.
Yep.
And will the group frequency always be higher than any one individual, or?
Yeah. It depends.
Okay.
So it depends. So depending on who's leading the group, who's guiding the group, it can be taken to a higher level. Because what happens is the group will often go to, and will kind of average out. Okay. It will average out.
Okay.
If you have somebody who's strong enough guiding the group, it can pull the frequency of the group higher than the average. See, the group would naturally fall into an average. Does that make sense? Depending on like where the group is. And depending on who is leading the group or guiding the group, let's just say, it can pull that mean or that median or that average up higher so that everyone's moving faster. So the group can, depending on who's leading, who's participating, exceed that of the individual.
It's almost like the leader of the pack. And so whoever that is, it might be an opportunity for the individuals to go to a much higher level.
Yes.
Because it's almost like there's clearance on the runway.
Yes.
And so you can fly much higher because that frequency is much higher.
Or like the wake of a ship, or like drafting, on bicycles when they're racing, for example. What they'll do is they'll create momentum, and then because of the momentum of that wheel or that bike in front of them, other riders can, what they call draft, or get behind the other rider and use that momentum to go faster. Similarly, what you just said, the same analogy. So now you have somebody who's guiding, who is able to pull the group frequency higher.
The other question is, I was thinking about, do I physically have to be present in the same room?
No.
So you mentioned where you have conference calls.
Yeah, group frequency
and
calibration.
you might have a group of 20 people on that conference call. So does a mastermind come into play there?
Yes, absolutely. So for when I'm doing my group frequency calibrations or GFCs, they are conference calls. And so what happens is, by simply being present, so whether you are calling in or listening to the webcast or whatever, and it doesn't matter if you do it at the time of the live call or whether you listen to it later, you actually will be pulled into that mastermind because of your intention to join. So because I work beyond time-space, this is getting a little complicated, but because I create this time loop, what happens is that the mastermind can form, and it doesn't matter when in time the person joins, it's as if they're participating live.
So and we talked about this earlier, about the fact that you do record these. So let's say that I wish to be part of it, but I'm not available at 10 o'clock on Tuesday.
Correct.
So that night I listen to it. And so what you're saying is that truly the essence or the power of it is still available for me to connect with the mastermind.
Because we're working beyond time-space. So it doesn't matter. It's a level beyond the linear projection of time.
So it's almost like that recording captures and holds a frequency.
No, the recording does not hold the frequency. It pulls you into a specific time loop when that work was done. And so as a result, you can be pulled into this specific time when it was live, and therefore be as if you were present receiving the frequency work.
So it almost, if it was at 10 o'clock in the morning, I get the benefit. It's almost like it pulls me right back into that 10 o'clock in the morning experience. And so what else comes to mind when you talk about mastermind? So, and the work that you do. So evidently it's extremely important. And it's one of the benefits of working as a group.
Yep.
But the other benefit is to have a strong leader. Because the stronger the leader, the greater the impact. And the farther the group can go. You know.
Yeah. And so what's really wonderful is that, you know, as more and more people experience this work, more and more people clear of the distortion patterns. Therefore, when we come together, the group itself is moving at a higher level. And again, it's not me doing something to anyone. I just facilitate. So the whole group wants to move higher, faster. They want to connect even more to pure source. So as a result, there's much more momentum. So it's not, it's like the, what is it, that expression, the sum is greater, what is the sum is greater than each of the individual parts or whatever. I don't remember the expression clearly, but anyway, so that's what it is. It's the group as a whole can move so much faster than in each individual on its own. And as I may have mentioned before, it's like, it's no accident who you're on a call with. We've come together for a specific purpose, whatever your mind thought it was. But chances are, whoever else is on that call will run very similar patterns to you or have overlap in some cases with you. So in clearing those distortions, you can move them away more quickly or delete them more quickly than if you could on your own, because you have this massive inertia, this massive momentum, which is really awesome. And we all propel each other, right? So I get to help others by clearing the distortion patterns. People entrain to me because I'm of a higher vibration level. I benefit from that and I get to vibrate higher. So it's like this beautiful spiral. Everyone, this is the new paradigm. Everyone is benefiting. Everybody is winning. There's no someone gains, someone loses. Everyone's winning. So it's like this circular spiral of awesome, really.
You know, I've heard you mention before that when you start a session or when you start a group conference call or whatever, is that you're never quite sure exactly what's going to happen.
No.
You kind of step into the game just like everybody else does. Do you, when that happens, when you initially get on a call, and let's say it's 12 people spread out around the world, do you get kind of a sense, like as far as the frequency level or the...
Yes, it becomes apparent literally within the first 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yeah, it's really fast.
And so you have a sense of, boy.
Yeah, I work where as fast as the group will allow me to, essentially. So because you may have, even if it's 50 or 100 people or 1,000 people on the call, it doesn't matter. You have people at different levels. So the thing is, you want to make sure that the mastermind as a whole doesn't get too distorted. For the people who've done not as much. But what happens is this frequency work is so cool because it kind of like it modulates almost for the people. So it doesn't matter at the higher levels, whatever that calls, with fewer distortions. So it really doesn't matter what's happening. It's adjusting for all of that variation. And everyone has that same intention. So everyone's like picking up more and more momentum. So yes, I do have a sense of that.
You know, I've heard you mention before that you really enjoy the group work.
Yeah, I love it.
And so evidently is that kind of a...
That is the mastermind.
Yeah. That is the mastermind.
Yeah.
So that gives you the opportunity to come into this energetic flow.
Yeah.
And you can feel the group. And there's kind of a multiplier effect.
Totally multiplier effect.
As the more people.
Yeah.
And so that gives you a bigger playground.
Yeah, and it allows...
a more powerful.
Yeah, and it allows me to help people move faster.
Yeah.
I was made for groups.
Yeah.
So I'm great at individual stuff, but really one of my strengths is groups because, I can, for whatever reason, just create a tremendous amount of momentum, a tremendous speed. I'm allowed to create this kind of momentum that wouldn't be allowed as much individually. So that is really awesome.
So I could sit in my little room and do my little practice and just for the rest of my life, and that would be fine.
That would be fine.
And I'd have my experiences.
Absolutely.
But when I step into this mastermind, this group, you know, that's really when game's on.
Yeah.
And just everything accelerates and becomes more powerful.
Yeah.
And the experiences are more profound.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really what it is that's just like it's a microcosm or a fractal or a reflection of the oneness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're just all coming back into the memory of the oneness. And so what affects one of us affects the other. And this is because it's so intensified, and because it's a collective, and it is with this intention. It's like a more intensified experience.
Yeah.
So, and what's really amazing is that when I work with groups in group frequency calibrations or live events or whatever, what's amazing to me, and soon other people will be able to see this, is to see the effect of that group into the oneness. Because what we do as groups, because there's so much momentum in the group, it ripples through the oneness. It's like this, and it goes right through the oneness, and the oneness shifts. And to be able to witness that is so spectacular and so beautiful, what can happen. And it's really a gift not only to ourselves, but to the greater oneness when we do this work. And it's, soon, I can tell you this, but people will experience the amazingness of the impact of this work that we're not even necessarily aware of, because we just think, oh, we want to get over this fear or have more abundance or have a better relationship, which is all important. Yeah. And the ripple effect into the oneness is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We truly can't comprehend that.
No.
Because as a society, we've never experienced it.
Yeah, not.
And now we're stepping into that.
Yeah, consciousness is rising enough for humanity that we are being able to experience it. It's really a tremendously exciting time to be embodied.
And you mentioned it a couple times. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
No matter where they come in at, no matter what level they're at, everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the new paradigm, right? Where everybody wins, because if it's in alignment with pure source, there is no. What do they call it? A zero-sum game, when somebody wins and someone loses. Yeah. It's not like that. It actually, everyone wins.
It's always win-win.
It's always winning across the board. So when you're seeing everybody winning, this is the new paradigm coming in, which is really amazing, of this higher frequency level that's entering humanity. It's consciousness, and all of our consciousness rising. It's really cool.
Can I ask a personal question?
Sure.
You just light up when you talk about group frequency and energy in the mastermind. Yeah. It must be just a little bit difficult at the end of a session to kind of step out of that.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure over time, you learn how to do that, how to transition from the group back to kind of the individual. But the good news is you take with you as an individual the benefits of whatever you got in the group.
That's an interesting perspective. I've never thought of it that way. So my perspective would be a bit different. So when I lead the mastermind, I don't necessarily enter it. I lead it. When I've entered other masterminds before, what happens is that with this frequency work, everyone just shifts up. So when you quote unquote exit the mastermind, you're just, all of you have shifted. So you're shifting together. Yeah. And what's really neat is that when you have masterminds that you come together with regularly, you'll notice that the masterminds become much, 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 much almost like telepathic with each other. Like they pace together the same way. They start without talking about it, like wearing the same color. Like they'll show up and they'll be like, oh, we're all wearing kind of the same color. That's so weird. Or or things will happen where they'll think of each other, and then someone else, like that person will call, That type of thing will start to happen with masterminds that we tend to repeat often. And the ones that we want to come together with the most, the ones that feel the best to us, are the ones that are most highly vibrating. Wow. So we naturally want to gravitate toward those. And so yes, in the separation, can there be some sadness? Yes, but it's also just exciting because you're all moving together and you're all kind of like cheering each other on as you move up. So there's not really a sense of it from my perspective, or at least what I've experienced, a sense of loss. It's only a sense of like, wow, here we get to go together. This is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, could you help me? I hear so often when I look at your video or your website, GFC. Exactly what is that?
A GFC is a group frequency calibration, which looks a lot like a guided meditation on a particular topic. And what I'm doing is I'm helping you to remove the distortion patterns of that particular topic. And because you're coming together as a mastermind in a group to connect to pure source even more and to clear the distortion patterns of this particular topic, what happens is a tremendous amount of momentum starts to happen because of the energetic of the entire group, and each individual is able to move faster and ascend higher than they could have on their own. Welcome everyone. This is the Group Frequency Calibration on amping up the positive impact of the Mastermind. So let's begin by bringing our attention between our heart space and our throat. So just the space between your heart space and your throat. And as you bring your attention to this space, let's take 3 deep breaths together. So on the first breath, you're going to inhale and hold your breath for a count of 4. And then whenever you get to your exhale, you're going to blow all the air out of your lungs and hold your breath out for a count of 4. And whenever you're ready for your second breath, no rush. You don't have to follow the sound of my voice. Just use it as instruction. Please inhale and hold your breath for a count of 5. And when you get to your exhale, please exhale all the air out of your lungs and hold your breath out for a count of 5. And on your third breath, please inhale as slowly as you can. And then at the top of your breath, hold your breath for as long as you think you can. And when you're ready, exhaling all the air out of your lungs and holding out your breath for as long as you think you can. And when you get to that edge of discomfort and you think you can't hold your breath out any longer, please hold it out for a second longer. And whilst we're waiting for the mastermind to gel, please note, for those of you who are new, that I'm working on you in the group and the subgroup level. And also that I'll be making noises on my end. So you'll likely hear me exhale sharply, or yawn, even though I'm not tired, or hum. It's just how I remove the distortion patterns at this time. I'm working more and more in silence as well. So, good. The mastermind has just gelled. So, bringing your attention to your belly button, all the way up to your heart space. So, the space between your belly button and your heart space. And as you have your attention here, please breathe normally. And let's ask ourselves the following question. That question is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And that question again is, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? And as you ask yourself that question, please imagine, sense, feel, or become aware of a brilliance deep, deep, deep within your body that starts to glow even brighter, that starts to expand, and that radiates even further
And for some of you who are advanced, you can allow that radiance to get as large as you would like, even to the stretches or the edges of the multiverses, as long as you keep a fraction of your attention somewhere in or on your body. And on my end, I'm working on the source level to expand your natural bandwidth, irrespective of what level you're at. Good. Bring your attention now to your heart space in the center of your chest, in your nipple line. The first distortion pattern that we are going to clear is that of resistance or fear of the collective. So when we come together as a mastermind, there's intention. For many of you on this call, you've been in collectives that were not serving you to your greatest and highest good. Sometimes were controlling or abusive. So you have a natural fear of this, whether this was in this lifetime or past lifetimes. Others of you don't like to be told what to do. And others just like to go at their own pace. So depending on what subgroup you're in, there's a resistance to the collective, even though you have willingly chosen to participate as a group. So let's just remove this resistance. Because in this mastermind, or the masterminds within the group frequency calibrations, or the deep dives, or whatever, where we are meeting to connect even more to pure source and to clear the distortions around a particular topic. This is the greater purpose of ascension. There is no higher purpose. So it is a mastermind that is working for the highest good of all. So there's no reason to fear it. So removing this distortion pattern as you keep your attention on your heart space. Mm-hmm. Keeping your attention still in your heart space. No, I'm sorry. It's actually between your belly button and your heart space. So please bring your attention awareness between your belly button and your heart space. This is the fear, the distortion pattern of fear that you'll either move too quickly or too slowly when you join the mastermind. So the way frequency work works is that it modulates for the individual, because we're not working in the linear sort of space-time paradigm. Your spirit bodies, your highest selves, whatever you want to call it, are all adjusting to the frequencies, and you're going to go exactly at the speed that is perfect for you. And you're going to advance at the rate that's perfect to you, and it's not correlated to time, meaning not everybody who does this for X amount of time will be at the same place. Some people will move faster and some will move slower. So in addition to being sort of coerced by the collective's speed, right behind that, which I'll clear at the same time, is the distortion pattern with regards to time. So trusting in timing of things. Okay. So we're moving both of these as you continue to be aware of the space between your belly button and your heart. Mm-hmm. Good. Now bringing your attention to the space between your heart space and your collarbones. So this is the distortion pattern of the lack of trust in the group, in the sense of like your interest versus the group interest. So as these particular masterminds form for these group frequency calibrations, etc., because of the purity and the highest of the pureness of the intention and the resonance of the intention, which is very high, you're only meeting with people's highest selves. So you don't have to worry about being slimed by anyone or anything like that, right? Because it's not allowed, essentially, in this kind of mastermind. It can happen, but in this particular case, because of me, essentially, being a strong leader and clear enough in my own distortion patterns, the sliming won't happen, okay? So you won't pick up anyone else's stuff, is what I'm saying, right, by participating. So some of you have a fear because of that. Some of you it's a worry or a concern. For the rest of you, actually for this particular group, you just want to go faster. So you don't want to be held back by anyone. Again, you will go as fast as you need to. So this will only create more momentum for you. It won't slow you down. It will modulate to you. Very good. Nice. Now becoming aware of the space between the back of your heart and your spine. So the space between the back of your heart and your spine. So this is the distortion pattern of the fear of your own brilliance or your own power, depending on how you want to frame it. Really, it's your own brilliance, though. So we're going to help remove this. It could also be resistance to or discomfort with, depending on what subgroup you're in. This is not serving anyone, least of all you. So let's remove this. Good. Now bringing your attention to your heart space, all the way down to your lower belly. So from your lower belly, all the way up to your heart space. Yeah. So this is surprising to me, but this is the sensitivity or let's call it sensitivity to other people's judgment about what you do or criticism of what you do, which really is none of their concern. But for many of you, some of you on this call, you're okay, but for many of you, you don't have enough internal strength on the spirit level to hold firm in the face of that criticism. It still hurts you. So it's not like that will never hurt you. It's just that as we become more complete on spirit level, we care less about it. Okay, what other people think. So it often has nothing to do with us, what they think. It's about something that's going on for them. But we are human, so we take things personally. So I'm just going to remove this distortion pattern. Good. And now in the same place from your lower belly, all the way to your heart space, I'm going to amplify the frequency of momentum for your greatest and highest good. So, keeping your attention in this space. Very nice. So I'm going to leave you in this space for as long as you would like. And I look forward to meeting you on the next GFC.